Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. I'm going to be talking about a very touchy subject right now. As you see in the title, it's if you think they are the solution, then you are the problem. You can kind of gather from there what I'm going to be talking about. Basically, our people, so-called black people, are in a situation that we've been in for a very long time. And I'm starting to see more and more to where it seems like we're going deeper and deeper into a hole. And we are lacking understanding on self-preservation. Every other group on the planet understands that in order for them to survive, their people have to survive, and that they are going to do whatever they can for their people to survive. We don't get that as a people. Many times we do look to others as if they are the solution. And I'm talking about in many different regards. I feel like we don't try hard enough. I also feel like we've given up on each other, and it's understood. Don't get me wrong. I do understand why some people give up, but at the same time, that type of mentality is going to make it so if we were allowed to continue in this path without some type of divine intervention, we would just be finished. We would literally extinct our own selves. Okay. I heard a conversation a brother shared on Facebook where there's a YouTuber, in which I'm not going to give a name to this YouTuber, but this man was basically speaking as if the solution for the black man is to date other women, people that are not black, women that are not black. He feels like that is the solution. And so I would have to ask this question: if you believe that to be the solution to our problems as far as our relationships, then you are part of the problem. If you believe that they are our solution, the same can be said for black women who believe that men of other nations are the solution. Now, I know that many of you will argue up and down that you are tired of this and you're tired of that. Both men and women have expressed that they are tired of the black man or the black woman. They have both expressed this, and you'll have a whole list of things to justify your need or your desire to venture outside of us. But if we were allowed to continue in this path, if every single black person thought the way that some of you do, we would literally be history. We would vanish off of the earth, because it's unfortunate when you have a group of people who believe that they can continue on as a people or as a racial group by whiting their own selves out. Just like Hugo Chavez said before he passed away, he said he recognized that his people, Hispanics or whatever they are the creation of a third race. They're not white, they're not black. Once you mix your seed, you are the creation of another race. Okay, you are no longer representative of your heritage. Okay, let me give you a good example of that. When you look in northern Africa today, you see a bunch of people that are what they call Arab. Okay, northern Africa didn't always look like that. Now, I know you have history liars who will try to claim that they were always like that, but that is not the truth. Northern Africa were just as dark as the rest of the people on the continent. Okay? If you go far enough back, everyone was just as dark as the people that are on the continent now. And so, what has happened in Northern Africa? The same thing that has happened in the so-called Middle East. So-called because it was never called the Middle East historically. But the same thing has happened. There has been a whiting out that has taken place. So you can't say that the Northern African people, the Arab-looking people, are the same as the people from the Congo. They are no longer the same. You have two different groups of people now. And so if we were allowed to continue in this direction, if every single black person had the same mindset that a lot of these people have, we would all be finished. You wouldn't have our racial group any longer. You would have Arab looking people or Latino looking people or Mexican looking people and so on and so on. Now, some of you are okay with that because you despise yourself anyway, so you would be okay not seeing anyone that looked like Wesley Snipes ever again on this planet. You would be okay with that because there's this self-hatred that has been programmed into your mind to where you think it's okay. And so there is an uprise in YouTubers, black men and black women, who believe that the solution to our problem is these other nations. They believe that they are the solution. And if you believe that way, then you are the problem. You're the problem if you believe that they are an improvement to us as far as our gene pool goes. Now, if they all want to mate and they just do their thing and their people grow and do whatever, that's them, right? But when you believe that mixing with them is going to improve us, then I don't even know what to call that. Some people call it self-hate. I don't even think that's strong enough anymore. To me, that's self-annihilation. Something I don't even have a name for it. We can try to come up with a name for it, but this is a person or a group of people who more than hate, but they despise. The worst words you can think of, that is what that is. But we see an increase in that. We see more and more of us who are starting to look the other way like it's not a big deal. We just have this mindset now that anything other than us is better than us. This is because we look at our present state. Around the world, we have lost dominion, okay? These other nations have dominion over us and they rule over us. And so we think that looking like them or mating with them is going to cause them to love us. And it's not going to cause them to love you. It's not going to cause them to treat you any different because some of them will lay up in the bed with you, have babies with you, and still treat you like trash. So where is the improvement in that? Where is the improvement in that? But you're content with that. I heard one brother say that as long as Becky lets him get in her panties, she can call him whatever the heck she wants to call him. The N-word, whatever. Monkey, ape, gorilla. And I said to myself, man, you think you found something golden, huh? For a person to stoop that low and say, as long as you let me get in your panties, let me get in there, and you can call me whatever you want. You are one despicable human being to think that way. As if you have struck gold. But again, that is the mindset that we as a people have. But guess what? You will not find men of other nations or women of other nations speaking about their own the way that we do. These men, I've never seen or heard a white man get on YouTube and say that the best choice for a white man or for white men in general, man, we need to get ourselves some black women. I don't see channels. Now you may see an article here or there because I saw an article one time where these white billionaires actually said that black women are for grown-ups. Let that sink in, okay? But and nowhere in the article did this man start bashing white women. Neither do you have channels on YouTube that are bashing white women. You don't have white men and Latino men and Arab men saying that I'm going to go after this group over here because they are the best, and white women are this, that, and the other, or Latino women are this, that. You don't have that. We have to ask ourselves, what kind of mindset? That's like a very juvenile mindset. Yes, I am saying it. Very juvenile. It's very juvenile for a black woman to think that the best thing for her is a man outside of her own race. Now, I understand, sister, that we are getting this horrible treatment by some of our brothers. Many of you have expressed that the bashing hurts, and I understand it, and I agree. But not every brother is like that, okay? There are a lot of brothers who have been looked over. I talked to you all before about one brother who's a friend of mine on Facebook, and he also follows my channel. But this brother, he has land. He has a farm. He don't just have land, but he has a farm, okay? And he's not a bad-looking brother, okay? But he has a lot going on for himself. And none of the black women seem to be interested in this brother. But Becky, on the other hand, she's like, oh, we can talk. We can talk. We can talk. So we are messed up all around, because I have seen it from both sides. I've seen black women too who act like they think they're too good for this brother over here because he ain't got the type of job she likes. And I've seen brothers who will be with an obese, overweight white woman who's about this short, okay? But someone who is just beautiful and gorgeous and smart, and she's a black woman, wouldn't give her the time of day. There was a post where there was a black woman who I believe went to school to be, she was a professional, okay? I can't forget what the profession was from what the meme was saying. They were giving you some hypotheticals. And then they had this chick that looked like she was probably mixed, but she was from the streets. And all of the brothers chose the chick from the streets who had her belly showing, the tight clothes on, and, you know, she had a son or what have you. Not that there's anything wrong with getting with someone who has a child, but all of them passed over the educated woman because they had all assumed that she would be a certain way towards them, right? Now get this. There are a lot of so-called black educated women who would love to be with some of our brothers. Let me tell you how I know. When we were in Detroit, there was a black female doctor that worked at the same hospital my husband worked at, okay? And there was a young man there. His name was, I forget his name. But anyway, the young man, he was just an orderly. He was just an orderly, pushing patients around, okay? But this black female doctor, she was paid, and she lived in this beautiful house. Long story short, this black female doctor fell in love with this young man. They got married and had kids, had children. Now, this was a young man, he knew my husband, so he came out to our house one time when we lived in Michigan. We lived out in the country. He came out there, and this young man was so proud of his black female doctor wife. And he he showed us pictures of their house. I mean, they had a beautiful house, had a beautiful family, had a beautiful relationship. And he didn't care that she was a doctor. He wasn't intimidated by that. She didn't care that he was an orderly. All they saw is they were both single, and they were like, hey, let's do this thing, you know? I don't know who approached who. I think my husband said that this young man approached her. She was like, hey, come on, baby. Two black people, woman, doctor, and an orderly. And so for those of you who like to make the excuse that black women, when they are educated, they treat you like they think they're better. Now get this young man was an alpha male. So even though his wife was a doctor, they had mutual respect for each other. I'll just put it to you that way. There was a mutual respect. She didn't have this attitude of, oh, I'm a doctor and what are you? She didn't have that attitude. And so I said that to say this. Those of you who wouldn't pick the sister over here that's educated, who's making six figures, because you think that really what's going on is you feel intimidated by her. And so therefore you would not even approach her. You feel like this one is approachable. Many of them said that the woman over here that had on the tight jeans with her belly showing and she was street smart, you felt like she was approachable. And so that's really not fair to us as a people when we treat each other this way. We assume that everyone is the same, you see, and we are not willing to take chance or risk on each other. Don't blame every black woman or every black man because you made wrong choices. There is a such thing of making a wrong choice. Now, if you as a woman want to pick the thug because you think he's going to be better in bed, then you get what you picked. Because if he has not proven to be a good provider, a lover, a friend, why did you pick him? If you picked him for the sex, you got what you got. Same for you brothers. You pick someone just because they have a pretty face, but she don't know nothing about anything. She only got a couple of marbles rolling around up there. She don't know how to look up nothing. She don't know how to cook nothing. Don't know anything about raising children. And as my mom would say, don't know her butt from a hole in the ground. But because she was pretty or she had a shape, you picked her. You got what you got. You got what you picked. But if you overlook this sister right here because you say, oh, she looks boring, or you don't feel that she's attractive, or you don't feel that she is shaped the way you wanted someone to be shaped, or you feel this or you feel that, that's your problem. It's not her problem. And you can't blame the whole race of black females because you made choices and you picked someone who was out here in the streets. It is so frustrating because we see the divide growing bigger and bigger between so-called black men and women. No longer is it just the idea that outsiders are breaking in while we are making love to each other. It's not just that any longer. We're breaking out now because we don't even want to give each other a chance. That's what's going on here. And it's not just here in the U.S. It is all over the country. I'm sorry, all over the world. You go to the UK, same thing. You go down in the Caribbean, same thing. You go to Africa, same thing. So-called black people think that these other nations are the solutions to our problem. You are the problem. If you think they're the solution, you are the problem. You don't want what looks like you, and you will come up with any excuse, any reason to justify it. And it is sad when you have people that have a platform who are promoting this, and many of you get angry at me for speaking out about this. I see the bigger picture here. I see that our people are in a bad situation, that if we continue in this path, it is not just a natural thing that we're going to experience, a natural whiting out or wiping out, but there is also a spiritual judgment to this. And that's the narrative that I continue to say, because some of you don't get it. Some of you brothers get angry. You're like, well, I can't find a black woman who's going to do this, that, and the other. Well, how many have you even tried? What kind are you even looking at? And the sad reality is this too. The requirements that you have for the black woman are not the same that you have for the white woman. I've seen a lot of our brothers, and I'm going to say very attractive brothers, who are with obese, overweight, white women. I see it all the time. We are seeing this more and more to where there are no requirements, zero requirements. And what's funny about that, if a black woman lets herself go too much, that man is gone. He's out the door. But they will stay with these Beckys. I don't care if she gets 400 or 500 pounds. They will stay there. They will stay there and they will be proud. We see them walking in Walmart holding hands because they don't have any requirements for Becky. You can let yourself go. You can blow up. You can just look like whatever. Teeth can fall out and they're going to stay right there. I remember when we were back in Detroit. When I was coming up, there was a young woman, white girl, who lived down the street from us. She lived with her sister. Her sister was married to a black guy, and they had children together. Now, I'm not trying to be funny or mean or rude here, but they were very, very, they didn't have good hygiene at all. As a matter of fact, the young lady, her teeth were brown, okay? And it was to the point where you were like, okay, do you think you need to do something about all this stuff, right? So years go by, I run into her again, and I see these little mixed kids with her. And I see the young man that she had the children with. But this time, those brown teeth, they were completely gone. She didn't have any left. She had no teeth in the front. She had some going down the sides, but she didn't have any teeth left in the front. And so I said, man, they finally fell out, huh? But anyway, I looked at the young man, okay, and I looked at her. They were in their 20s. I was in my 20s. And I said, hey, Nancy, how you doing? You know? And I looked at the young man. He wasn't a bad looking black guy at all, right? And I was thinking to myself, what is going on? Now, I don't know too many of our brothers who would stay and remain with or even have children with a black woman that has brown teeth, that smells horrible, and that has let herself go so bad to where you can't even stand to be 10 feet from her. I don't know any brothers who would do that. But this young man, he was there. They had children together. And so that says something about his mind. That says something about his mind to even be able to stand that. Okay? I'm sorry, you all. Some of you all don't like the interracial discussions, but you don't see that this is destroying us as a people. You just don't see it. You don't get it. You don't want to see it or get it. And I'm not saying that every black man that does this or every black woman that does this, that go outside of their race, are getting the bottom of the barrel. I'm not saying that, but many do. Just like the so-called white guy said, he said that black men are getting their low-hanging fruit, what they discard, what they don't want anymore. And there seems to be a pride in doing so. There seems to be pride in doing so. And it is unfortunate that this is where we have come. I don't know what's going to become of all of this, because the divide is so very bad. The divide is getting wider and wider. It's getting worse and worse. The hatred is off the chain. The hatred that I see between the black man and woman, it is utterly ridiculous. It is so sad that it makes you want to cry. Because, get this, I know it is not all of us, because I see many very loving relationships, okay? But these loving relationships are not the ones being promoted, okay? What we see all on the internet are brothers who will bring their white chick and put her in the camera on YouTube, and she's talking to black women, telling them, well, the reason why we getting your men is because of this, that, and the other. Y'all, this, that, and the other. So you are actually using this woman as a weapon. Now, you have weaponized the white woman against the black woman, right? And what I see with so-called black women is I see a lot of YouTube channels where they're not necessarily bashing black men, but what they are doing is they're saying, look at my family. Look at my husband, look at his blue eyes. And then they're just promoting this whole mixed culture, mixed marriage or mixed relationship culture, to where it looks so beautiful and attractive to other black women, to where they just say, you know what, bye black men. I'm going to get me an Asian. I'm going to get me a white guy so I can have some beautiful children, so I can have a loving relationship. It is causing black women to just give up because of those reasons alone. I've seen a number of black women on YouTube, many of them very dark skinned, okay, full lips, very African looking features. Those are the ones, many of them, not all, but many of them are the ones that we see that are marrying white men or Asian men. The ones that black men are doing videos about, saying, I don't want no black dark-skinned woman. I don't want no ugly black woman, all this kind of stuff like that. So then you say to yourself, well, when a sister hears that constantly coming from black men, and you see black men at parties dancing with all the Beckys, and the black women are sitting there just watching, hoping that someone will ask her to dance, and it never happens, then you can understand why many are saying, bye, I'm not going to even try anymore, right? And then with black men, when you have these women of other nations that for the most part are probably able to provide you a better lifestyle, because some of them have money and they're willing to buy your sex from you, what do? Either you live in poverty or you let Becky take care of you. Now, for those who are already rich, like the celebrities, they are doing this because they think that these women of other nations are a step up, and that black women don't deserve their wealth. So it's a number of different dynamics at play here. It's not all about looks and money for every relationship. I've seen some seemingly loving relationships between mixed couples, okay? But again, I have to go back to what scripture says about that and keep it real, right? But then I've seen some relationships that are strictly sexual. When I see a white woman who has 7 children by 6 different men or 5 different men, she's playing games, okay? This is all about the black sex for her, whether you want to own up to it or not. Why would you become the next link in a chain of fools? If you see that this woman done already had all these different mixed children by all of these different men, why would you want to be the next link in a chain of fools? This is one of those topics that you can just talk about because when you see news reports saying that interracial marriage and relationships is the highest growing and the fastest growing demographic in this country, when you see stuff like that, it makes you say, well, dang. And then for us to not see it as problematic, for our own people to not see it as problematic, it's one of those things that just make you shake your head, make you want to holler, throw up both your hands, and just give up. But see, we can't do that. We cannot do that. We cannot allow ourselves to be whited out. Although many think that is an improvement. When you look at, say, the Jackson family, for instance, that's no longer the Jackson family. Look at them. They are no longer the Jackson family. Look at all of them that married and had children white. And then their children marry white and have more children. So all they know, all the grandchildren know is that, okay, I'm white, but my iconic grandfather or grandmother is black. But that's the last trace of them you will ever see, because most of them do not marry back into the black. And so you have inserted your seed into another race of people, and then they white you out. And the only reason why you won't be forgotten if you're a Jackson is because you were a celebrity. But other than that, you would be forgotten. I had a friend on Facebook who had a group, Saving Black America. I don't know if he still has that group, but I talked about this before. Black man married to a white German woman. They had children that were already mixed, and so all of their children married white. When you saw all of his grandchildren, they all look white. So he is the blackest thing in that image, and he has whited his lineage out. He has already extincted his own self. It is what it is, family. This is that tough talk that many of you don't want to deal with. Some of you don't even want to touch this subject with a 10-foot pole because you feel that people love who they want to love and all of this. If this was about love, in my opinion, I don't think we would see so many of these Beckys divorcing these black men. Okay? Listen to this. Remember Heidi Klum, I believe that was her name. She was married to Seal. Now, if you all remember, why did she want to even pursue him? She saw him come into a place where she was, and he had on some biker shorts. And so her eyes went downward, right? What do you think it went downward for? Was she bowing in reverence to him? Her eyes looked and shifted downward because this man had on biker shorts. Come on now, put 2 and 2 together. And she said, oh, I got to meet that man. So, was it love at first sight? Or was it lust at first sight? I'll let you answer that in the comment section. So don't think that these relationships are formed on the basis of love. Many of them are lust and curiosity. Lust and curiosity, because a lot of times, whether it's a white man or a white woman that's married to a black man or a black woman, it always comes out. We told you all about a story of a friend of my husband's back in Detroit. Whenever his white wife would get angry at him, she would call the police and say, come and get this N-word out of my house. Because she knew that she could still use the system. And he would have to pull out his ID just to prove who he was. So keep on telling me it's about love. No, it's about lust. It is about lust. And someone shared a clip where there was a well-known YouTuber who had an interview some years ago with a white woman, and he was saying he was agreeing with this white woman. Now, he was just recently outed as being married to someone who looks white or is called Mexican or whatever. But the sister who put this interview up is an old interview where he was actually literally applauding white women and black men together and saying that the only ones mad about it are black women and white men. So he's promoting it in this video, but now he claims that he's against interracial marriage, but he's married interracially. And so it's all of this confusion that we have, and all of this promotion of this type of thing, and all of us who just don't want to hear about it, even though you're being affected by it. Many of our sisters, they actually support interracial marriage as it relates to their brothers and cousins and stuff, but they themselves don't even have a black man or a white man or any man, but they're applauding it. How can you applaud something that is going against you? Again, we're going to bring it back home. This is a biblical mandate that we do not do this sort of thing. We are whiting our own selves out, but we are applauding the process. And you don't realize that you are hurting your own self and hurting your own people. Okay, family, like I said, I can go on and on about this. There was a brother who suggested that those of us who are sane as it relates to this particular subject, that we should start talking more and more and open up a dialogue against this sort of thing so that our people can understand what is happening to us. So that is what we must do, family. We need to talk more about this. We need to talk more about black love. This is why we did the marriage series, and that we are going to continue with it at some point. And once we get some of these other projects off of our table, it would be great if more and more of us could dive into these things, because we are under attack and we don't even realize it. Some of you don't even realize that this is a war. You think it's a game. It's not just about loving someone and going to bed with someone because you think you love them, when it's really more about lust. It's not just about that. Oh, I fell in love with Becky, or I fell in love with Brad. Especially when you have these weird scenarios that play out where all of a sudden they wake up and they decide, you know what, I'm done playing this game. I don't think I want to be married to this black person anymore. And as a matter of fact, which I've heard of several situations like this, where they said, you can keep the kids. In my own family, one of my male cousins was married to a white woman, and when she decided that she didn't want to do it anymore, guess what? She told him, oh, by the way, you can keep the kids. So tell me again that that relationship was formed on the basis of love. Okay, family, I'm out. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also